People find all kinds of excuses not to train, but one of the most common is that they're ill. So if you've ever been ill and you've had a fitness plan and you've had a goal and you don't know how to overcome that illness and get back into your training, this is the podcast for you. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beast of Burden. My name's Paul. I run Hounds of Health here in Wandsworth, London, helping busy people get fit and healthy. Now, one of the most common reasons for people cancelling their fitness class or not turning up to the gym is that they're ill. So what I wanted to do today is take you through my strategy for firstly, what to do when you're ill, secondly, how to come back, and also, quite importantly, should you even do anything in the first place? There's a lot of reasons why people don't want to turn up to the gym. They haven't got much time, they've got an injury, they don't know what to do, they don't feel like it. But one of the most valid ones is when you have an illness, when you've got maybe the flu, maybe you've got a really bad cold, or something even worse. Now, should you turn up? Should you stay in bed? Or should you power through it, push with intensity and hope that it was never there in the first place? These are questions I think that a lot of people have to wrestle with if they want to get a good result. And anyone who's turned up to the gym consistently over the years knows that it's not linear, that things will crop up, there will be obstacles, and it's how you come back from those obstacles that really make the difference. Now, those of you who watch my podcast from last week, or certainly watch the video version of this podcast, will know that I had a really bad cold last week. Really knocked me for six. I was, just full of head cold. Always got a packet of tissues near me. Had to stop that video multiple times throughout it, blow my nose. Even, for my sins, I've recorded the whole thing out of focus because I was a bit ditzy, a bit dozy, not quite with it. How many times have I recorded the intro on that episode? It was just, I recorded about 15 times. I just couldn't get it right. I couldn't speak. And actually for the rest of the day, I was tripping over my own feet. But look, I turned up to work, didn't I? And the thing is about turning up to work when you're ill is that if you don't work when you're ill, I mean, there's some companies that are pretty easy with you not turning up, particularly in today's world where you can work from home. You can go and recover at home and still just zoom in. But if you don't turn up to work consistently because you've got the sniffles, then what ends up happening is you lose your job pretty quick. Now, your body has got a remarkable ability to keep you healthy, even when you're eating junk food, even when you're drinking too much, even when you're not sleeping enough, even when you're not exercising or taking care of yourself in any way. Even if you've got a lot of depression, your body still keeps going. So you can get away with a lot. If your body was a business, it would have fired many people many years ago. So when it comes to showing up for yourself, it's very easy to just make an excuse and say, look, today I don't feel like it. What happens after 20 years of doing that is you get yourself in a bit of a state and you end up being fairly unhealthy and you've got a lot of work to do. So what I wanted to do today is just take you through my kind of way of determining whether or not this is, your illness is something that you need to rest and recover from, or whether you can power through it, whether you need to isolate. I'm not going to give you medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Any personal trainer that's giving you medical advice is stepping far outside their remit, and there are plenty that do that. I even feel a little bit uncomfortable giving too much information on supplements. It's not to say I don't have opinions on it, but it's not really an area that I strongly have too many opinions on, but it's also not something that I see make tons and tons of difference in people's everyday results. Not to say they don't, so before people start screaming at me, there are certain supplements which I think are beneficial. But I'm not going to be recommending things to cure things. I'm not going to be recommending anything that's going to give you miracle cures that means you never get ill again. What I do know is the healthier you are, the less likely you are to get ill, or the more robust you'll be when illness does hit and you'll recover faster. And maybe it comes in and hits you with less intensity. I think the first thing is you've got to have a reason to show up. You have a reason to show up to work. So you turn up to work, you get paid, you have a career, you got to feed your family. So you turn up, you do the work. And that makes you make decisions on what is comfortable and what is uncomfortable. And you're willing to put up with quite high levels of discomfort to maintain your career and progress it, pay your bills, all those things. But what I see is when people have a really strong reason for keeping fit, it becomes their identity, or they have a strong goal because of health reasons or family reasons or just personal reasons to turn up, their willingness to push through discomfort is much higher. And it is uncomfortable to change yourself because it's not always convenient. And the problem with illness is it's not convenient. And most people's fitness programs are geared around the convenience. People want to join a gym that's next to them. They want to do a program that's easy to do. They want to find shortcuts so that it's less and I can see why, because they want to make it easy to implement. And that's, the reality is like any program that's too difficult to implement, pretty much no one would do. There are bodybuilding programs which are incredibly complex, and some people can do them, but most people can't, and most people shouldn't. But there's a lot of reasons why people turn up to work when they're tired, when the kids haven't slept, when they're a bit ill, when they're stressed and depressed or whatever. People still turn up to work, and they do it because of greater reasons. Now, when it comes to your health, you've got to find some other reason for showing up. And it doesn't mean that you have to be beholden to that goal at all else, but it will get you to accept some certain level of discomfort. And fitness journey will create some discomfort. So what I would suggest you do is go away and have a think about why you're doing it. And if it's a strong reason, you'll show up. Because I think the first thing to do is always to double check yourself. It's like, I don't want to turn up. Is that because I don't want to turn up and I can't be bothered and I want the license to not show up? Or is it because I actually physically cannot? And if it's the former, then you have to override that and show up. If it's the latter, then that's where you have a proper illness. So that's a really simplified version of it. And most people are very good at negotiating. I work with busy professional middle management, top tier management, people who are professionals in legal firms or run their own businesses or work in finance or have kids or whatever. And they're all negotiators. They all know how to negotiate their way out of anything. They can negotiate with themselves best of all. And you'll negotiate yourself out of turning up. And any material you can draw upon, oh, I've got a cold. Oh, my left knee is hurting a bit. I won't show up today. If you've got a history of not showing up, that's what you'll revert to. You'll revert to that under training, under pressure, you'll revert to your training, sorry. So if you turn up regularly, day in, day out, show up for yourself in loads of different ways, even under pressure, you'll do the same. If you avoid the hard work when it's easy, you'll certainly avoid it when you're under pressure. It's the reason the army drill the same thing. So when someone's firing at them, they all run around going, oh my God, someone's shooting at me. So we want to do the same when it comes to your fitness. We want to have a strong set of goals and drill the same things so that you still do them when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're ill. Now, what kind of illness would prevent you from showing up? Well, anything infectious. Like if you're going to give it to loads of other people, then don't show up. If it's infectious but not stopping you do something, then maybe you can do a workout at home and just choose something light. So when your system is overloaded with illness, there is something to say about moving, about doing something. The key thing is the level of intensity. For someone, it might just mean going for a walk, getting fresh air, clearing the mind, doing something really easy, getting on a bike and spinning your legs, not pushing your heart rate up. I think when you're ill, your systems are already starting to go into the red. Have you ever been on a mixing desk and you can push the sound up, and when it goes into the red, the speakers start to vibrate and fart and basically start to kind of make a fuzzy sound. It's the same with your body. When you got that red, when you're in the red, you know you need to back off things. So finding something therapeutic, is probably ideal. So some light work. When I was ill last week, I came in and I just did some light barbell work, some light dumbbell work, some body weight work. It felt good. I felt better at the end of it, cleared some of my head. But none of it was demanding in my cardiovascular system. None of it was demanding in my recovery because I'm already having to recover from the illness. So The key thing is having a plan B when that happens, rather than stopping altogether. Think, what is my plan B? Now, sometimes for the people we work with, we just say, look, it's not infectious, you're not feeling great, you're feeling under the weather, just turn up. You know, if it's not something where you're going to be coughing in everyone's face, turn up, we'll take it easy. We'll do something real easy. What, you've not slept? That's fine. Let's just spin, just go choose light weights, no expectation. And that generally is great because it's much easier to lose that habit of showing up than it was to build it. The other thing is, when you are ill and you made a determination that you shouldn't be training, your recovery strategies have to kick in. Sleep, hydration, quality food, you know, any supplements you do take, you know, just keep taking them. But start working on your recovery strategies so you can get back into training as fast as you can. You know, because a 10-day lethargy can turn into a month lethargy. I've just got in touch with someone because they had 10 days where they were ill, but I hadn't seen any classes booked in for a month. Starting again is the single biggest skill that you can develop as an individual when it comes to your fitness, because your life will not be linear. Your life will have all kinds of things that get in the way. All those obstacles that get in the way will prevent you from seeing results. So your ability to show up and start again, however minor the interruption, is key. If you're going on holiday, you start again on the Monday when you get back. If you've been ill, you book your next class in for when you're recovered. If you need to move it, that's fine. Book it in advance again. Book it. When you're ill, if you've been unable to eat properly, as soon as you start feeling better, you don't just eat comfort food and just buy a load of croissants and slather them in butter. You eat the same meal that you would have ate if you were healthy. Okay? You go back into what works. That's how you do it. Your body's already under a lot of load. Most people we work with are already stressed, they're already time poor, they're already overloaded. They might be overloaded their systems with other things like alcohol, smoking, excess weight that they need to lose. So we can't just keep loading more stress on your body. Now, fitness in the studio, or in the gym or going for a run, is a positive stress in most scenarios. We have to make a judgment about whether it's a negative stress. One of the good things about working with us as coaches is we can adapt things. We have a lot of experience working with people at different levels of illness, and we can scale a workout. If you can do the same yourself, you're going to give yourself a great skill that you can utilize to allow you to be consistent as you can over time. I'm typically on the edge of my recovery a lot of the time, and it's a big challenge for me generally, working long hours, running a business, the stress of all of that. My own training is very intense sometimes. I've got 2 young kids. They get up really early. I'm always on the edge of recovery, and I have to make choices. Like, I can't drink like I used to. In fact, I don't really drink at all now. It can only be a good thing for my liver, because I know that if I do that, I will be pushing myself over my ability to recover. I mean, I think one of the reasons I got ill last week is that I had very long hours on Monday, very early start on Tuesday. You know, I did a 13-hour day, didn't get back until about 10:15 in the evening, started at 9 in the morning, and I was just absolutely exhausted. Didn't manage to get to sleep until about 1:45. And then I was up again at 6:30, and it just wiped me out. And I was already, you know, I didn't plan it well, I'll be honest. I trained as hard as I normally would on that day, and it just didn't work. And I must have been a bit under the weather anyway from other things prior to that, and it just tipped me over the edge. And I was fine for a few days, and then started getting you know, ill at the end of the week. So the key thing is to have a little bit of planning ahead. Most people don't plan their recovery. They plan their workouts, but they don't plan how they're going to recover from the workouts. They don't eat well. They don't get enough sleep. They don't do anything else that's complementary, like walking or any cardiovascular work. So what I would say is go away and always plan these things. So when you know you're ill, start putting a plan in place. Start just thinking about your health. All right. And then obviously if you've got really, really serious illness that you're dealing with, you have to talk to a doctor about it. Okay. I'm not going to be able to sit here and say, if you have cancer, you do this. It's going to be completely bespoke. I've worked with a lot of people coming out of this period of very acute illness back into a time where they've been given the all clear to exercise, and I work with them to get themselves back on track. And that is never at the same intensity as when they previously stopped. We have to go back very easy, but we still have to do something. But often on the day we call it and we say, okay, we're going to do this on the day. We had that plan, but now we do this. You've got to be adaptive. And I think that's one of the things. When you're ill, you cannot be rigid. You have to be a little bit adaptive. You have to back off sometimes. You have to change exercises, change rep schemes, cut things off before you start feeling woozy or whatever. And certainly when someone's coming back from a cancer treatment or major surgery or an extended period of illness, then we have to back off and change our expectations. But if we do it right, they can get back up to fitness very quickly. Okay, so as long as they have no relapse in whatever they're experiencing, we can get them back, on track, because they've got the muscle memory, they've got the experience of having done it in the past. It doesn't take as long the second time round, but it is frustrating. It's really frustrating when you're ill, and that's the biggest thing I think people deal with. They're just really annoyed. There's nothing more annoying when I'm ill, I've got a sore throat or whatever, I'm head cold and I'm grumpy, I had plans for things and I can't do them because basically there's a spanner in the work. That adds to the stress as well. So when you feel like you can't do something, sometimes it's useful to have a coach like me just turn around and say, like, you're not going to lose everything, everything's going to be fine. Just back off a bit, let's see the big picture, which is hard. I struggle with it. So next time you're ill, have a think about whether it's infectious or whether or not you can back off and do something different, whether there's someone you can talk to about adapting your plan, having a strong enough goal to keep you going. Making sure you keep existing good habits in place, like eating well and recovery, strategies like drinking plenty of water, getting to sleep on time, all those things you can go out the window just because you're ill. And then being able to come back from illness, having a plan to come back. When people leave my business, and there are people who don't enjoy what we do, they rarely have a plan to go forwards when I ask them. They say, I'll find something. And you're like, no, one of the reasons you're here is we wanted to have a plan. So you need a plan in place. So when you're ill, have a plan. So thanks again. Beast of Burden. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Obviously, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. And if you've got any ideas, any subjects you'd like me to cover, really would love to hear your insight and what you think is relevant, because it gives me some feedback on what's working and what people are really responding to. So thanks again for listening to Beast of Burden. My name's Paul Bassett. I run Hounds of Health in Wandsworth and Putney in London. So if you're looking for personal training, why don't you get in touch? And I'll see you next week.